how reliability the data is, and how availability the data is always a miracle or a nightmare for most of the researchers. So in order to solve this, contribute fundamentally to this problem, my department, sponsored by the People's Bank of China and the Ministry of Education with its Google Project Fund, we conducted the CHF survey, which covers 28 provinces, except Tibet, Xinjiang, and sorry to Professor Bilik, not covered in Mongolia because of the cost budget problem. But 28 provinces is among 31 provinces in total, and the coverage is so far is the biggest one apart from the official annual survey of the National Bureau of Statistics. And the only shortage is in the first survey we only had 8,500 some household in the sample size, but in the follow-up of the survey we did the telephone interview follow-up, and this year we did the second round survey, which expanded the sample size to 28,000, which largely solved this problem. One of the typical features of this survey is we can see it's a low non-responsible rate, which I should attribute to our very professional survey team, which was led by some of our professors and as well as our PhD students. All the interviewers are our own master and undergraduate students, so which are trained very well. So you can see, compared with other similar paper, our non-response rate is significantly lower than them, which increases the reliability of this data set. And although it covers only the 8,000 sample size, but if we compare this data with the official NBS data, we find that the characteristics of the demography is nearly the same with NBS data. So in large, it represents China in total could be believed. Okay, after this background introduction, the interesting part comes out is the income, asset, and the inequality. First, I need to bring out this table. I know here the most of the audience are sociologists, but from the point of view of economic research, sometimes data can bring us some more obvious findings. So let's look at this table. First is let me remind you something about the exchange rate between renminbi and Chinese currency and the US dollar. It's one US dollar is roughly equivalent to 6.3 renminbi. So if to the Brazilian currency, yes. If to the Brazilian currency real, it's about one Brazilian real will equal to about 3.5 Chinese yuan. So you have the idea about how large this number is. Okay, this is a household disposable income. That means income taken out of the tax of different fees contributed to the pension or other government levies. So it's the net disposable income of each household, the average and the median. So overall, average is 51,000 something, median 70,000 something. This is 3 times as large as this. So the big difference between average and the median indicates there exists very large inequality overall. And if we look at the difference of average between city and the rural, it's about more than 3 times as high, or 3 times high. So big difference between city and the rural as well. And within city, within rural, if we compare average and median, they both show a very huge difference that indicate serious problems in inequality. If we break down the income composition into different percentiles, we find that the 25 percentile in overall got the cost of income of nearly 5,000, but if we look at 75 percentile, it's 10 times as high as that. And if we move it even upwards, look at the 99 percentile, it's 559,000, which is more than 111 times as high as 25 percentile. So this is, I said, Gini coefficient itself didn't show that serious the problem is. So we need to break down this into this percentile. And from our calculation, we have 1 million Chinese families whose disposable income is more than 1 million yuan. I read the news from the a financial newspaper in China today, which briefly talked about our data, which compared this Chinese data with the US data. We find that for the rich people, those 1 million Chinese family, whose if we compare them with the US family, they are among the richest group as well. But if we compare this at 75 percentile, this income in US is only 30% percentile. So overall, the difference between China and there's still a big difference between China and the US. But from this comparison, we can find that the rich Chinese in US is still rich. But if we take out this rich group, the very large common group of people of household in China, if we compare them with the US, they are still very poor, very poor. Okay. If we break down the income into different income source, we find that the richest family, salary contributes. They occupy the accumulated salary 55%. The most impressive thing is if we look at the business contribution, the top 10%, they accumulated 76% of the income from in the business source, and the top 5% even account for 67%. So that means if we look at the different income source, the rich people is a lot better in getting income from business, but and investment as well. But from the salary, they are okay. From agriculture, well, it's not a big contributor to this income inequality. I saw the time is flying, so I have to jump in some things. And this is also another findings about the distribution of household saving. We find that the top 10% income households has average saving rate of 60%, and the top 5% have an average saving rate of 70%. And if we look at another bottom half of the household at the year, they have more or equal consumption than their income in that year. So that brings in one answer to the questions that somebody raised in yesterday's seminar. Why China's consumption is not that large enough to support the domestic demand? I think the key answer is here. The income distribution is not that good, right? The rich people has a preference to save, and the common households have preference to consume, but they don't have enough money to consume, right? So the puzzle of the high saving rate in China might be to solve this puzzle, might be to eliminate the bad income distribution. Okay. I think I need to jump into our new things. Okay. So we know it's a serious the income inequality is. So our calculation of the Gini is a lot higher than the official data. Of course, we calculate from the very micro-based data, and the NBS data is group income data, so that belied some of the inequality within that group. So I generally think our Gini represent the more accurate inequality level of China, and you can see which is as high in total as high as 60%, and which is already the data that we have already taken out the top 10% and top 1% and bottom 1%, in order to make the data more presentable. Otherwise, if we publish this one, might cause some serious debate. Okay. So we guess where the income inequality come from. So first we look at the return on education from this descriptive statistical data. We find that the return on education, you are educated, the higher the return will accelerate higher. So, but one of the interesting things here is that in China, doing a PhD is not a good idea if you just want to right? It earns 30% less than master's degree. So if you just take into account contribution to your income, master's degree is the peak that we can suggest. And also another key issue that we talked about is about the 关系. We look at the close interpersonal relationship for income. We find that as the interpersonal spending, that is a very typical feature in China. We find that in city, its interpersonal spending is accounted for 11%. In rural area, it's accounted for 17%, and overall it's 11%. And from the income, it's 5%, 9%, and overall around 6%. But if we look at some specific groups, for example, government employee and non-government employee, we find that although the proportion with interpersonal income are nearly the same, but the proportion from non-relatives for the non-government employees is only 20%, but government employees 30%, and the amount is significantly higher. So from these two things, we might guess that first, education is an important factor. Secondly, that one important factor that has been neglected in past literature, existing literature, might be 关系. So what is 关系? What is 关系? 关系, I think Professor Gao will have very good understanding of this because 关系is the first proposed by, advocated by Professor Fei Xiaotong, a very famous sociologist worldwide. He said that 关系are the ripples formed from a stone thrown into a lake. Each circle spreading out from the center becomes more and more distant, and at the same time more insignificant. So that means, and he also said that Chinese society is composed of overlapping network, which is part of our 关系 framework. So from the literature, we summarize that if we want to understand what is 关系 is a multi-dimensional concept. First, it has its static feature. It's a blood-based, social base. For example, we are siblings, and so we must have some 关系 with it. And it has its dynamic features. For example, if I can expand my 关系 with invest on it, and the 关系need to be maintained, and if you don't use it, it will be elapsed. And 关系and resources is kind of social capital. You invest in 关系